The Bamboo Project Podcast starts in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Bamboo Project Podcast. My name is Donovan Gray, the future $10 billion man. On the way to 10 billion, I decided I'm going to help create 1,000 millionaires, including myself. And not by being a guru or selling a course, but by doing the things I already love to do every day and documenting the journey to get there. I figured I'll make all the mistakes so you don't have to. My name is Donovan Gray, and this is how I will turn my life into a living. I like to start off by giving a shout out to all the people rocking with us and supporting the channel. We really appreciate you. We are currently streaming on all major streaming platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, you name it, we on it. And if we not on it, we about to be on it. For everyone listening to this podcast and not watching it, you can find us on YouTube at The Bamboo Project. We have over 400 videos on our channel. You want to learn real estate? We got that. You want cooking tutorials inspired by Dr.Sebi? We got that. Travel and lifestyle vlogs? Got it. You want makeup and hair growth tutorials? Got it. Basketball? Got it. Turo? Got it. It's everything us. All the parts of the journey that don't make it to YouTube will probably be on our story. You can find me on Instagram at Donovan Gray, DONIVANGRAY, and my phenomenal, beautiful, amazing girlfriend, Melissa Burnett, ANETABURN. The Bamboo Project is about turning your life into a living by making money off the things you already do every day. We made different playlists for all the things we are into, and you can find all of those links in the description box below. This may be your first time here, and if it is, welcome to the family. But for everyone else, this is chapter 2, page 100, okay? 100 consecutive pages, episodes. We are here, okay? We have 4 different segments. We have the life update, episode playback, Donovan's questions, and the topic of the day. All audio and video timestamps will be in the description box below. Today's date is February 13th, and it is 4:05 p.m. All right. So, first things first, you already know that it is. I definitely don't know this probably, but we are recording on a Sunday, and I will explain that in a second. However, before we start with life update, y'all know what it is, okay? We have Screentime check. And the reason we have Screentime check is because if we aren't taking advantage of our phones, then it is taking advantage of us. Okay, so let's see where we've been at for the last week. And I'm not gonna lie, I watched a video recently, and I think I'm making some headway. It's making a little bit of headway with my screen time. I'm gonna get into that, also later in the podcast. So last week, my average screen time was 7 hours and 56 minutes a day. That's actually lower than the week before. The week before, it was 9 hours and 48 minutes. So I got it down about 2 hours. Okay. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited about that. Now, so let's see where we at. My most used app last week was Safari, then Twitter, then Instagram. Instagram for an hour and 2 minutes and Twitter for an hour and 3 minutes. I had 102 pickups. That was my most. My most amount of pickups was 102. That was on Sunday. And my first used app after pickup was Safari, and then Instagram, and then Mail. Now, for today, I've been on my phone for 4 hours and 46 minutes, right? Now, an hour and 10 minutes of that is Uno. However, I was editing last week's podcast this morning, and I was playing Uno while I was editing it. So that may explain why it's higher. It's pretty high so far today. But other than that, that means I've only been on my phone for 2 hours today, and it's already 4 o'clock if you subtract the Uno thing. So what is your screen time looking like? Because if you don't take advantage of it, it will take advantage of you. So there you go.
So my weekly average for last week is 8 hours and 45 minutes.
Are you saying I beat you? Listen, Melissa, you cannot be on your phone this much, okay? You have to bring it down.
12 a.m.
You gotta bring it. You gotta bring it down.
Between 12 and 6
I don't even know what you're talking about right now. I don't even know what you're talking about.
So it seems like I didn't turn my phone off.
That's what they always say. I didn't turn my phone off.
Anyway, let me tell you what my most used app.
Ridiculous. How she addicted to her phone? Now she's making excuses. I mean, I would never use my phone that much.
So, 12 hours. My most used app last week was Google Maps for 12 hours. So that's A. So slow your roll.
I mean, if we're being honest, for what? I was driving for 3 days.
Right.
You use your phone for 4 hours? It don't take that long to get there. 4 hours each day?
Because remember, I was doing stuff after.
Oh, those days that you said that it was
1 day.
I'm just telling you what you told me.
Parking.
Now you gotta find parking.
Right.
A lot of excuses for why your screen time is so high. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my gosh. And I still had to walk to the places in the damn.
Oh, excuses.
Instagram, 9 hours and 15 minutes. That's because I have some popping reels that keep sending me notifications.
That keep popping.
Right, and it's kind of sucks because whenever I see the notification, I'm like, oh, okay, let's see how many views it got, and then I get sucked into Instagram. So me staying on top of my social media is good because it helps my brand, but all these notifications.
You have a brand? Which brand?
Ember Candle Co.
What's that?
My candle company.
You sell candles?
Oh my gosh, I know, right?
That's crazy. I didn't even know that. What's the name of your website?
www.embercandle.co.
Oh wow, that's crazy. Are they handmade?
Yes.
What? You probably use soy and stuff. That's unhealthy, right?
Beeswax.
You don't use soy?
I don't use soy.
Why you don't use soy?
Because soy pollutes the air and beeswax purifies the air.
So you're saying your candles are healthy?
Yes.
That's crazy. I didn't even know that.
Yes.
It's wild.
And then my third most used app is music for 7 hours and 21 minutes. My average pickups for last week was 131. My first used app after pickup was messages.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So let's just address the reason why the podcast is being shot on a Sunday. Melissa is working as a production assistant, and she is working. It's like 3 weeks, give or take, 3 or 4 days, something like that. And she works sometimes from 8 to 2, 8 to 12. I mean, 8 to 8 sometimes, or 8 to 7, whatever. They're pretty long hour shifts. And she wouldn't be able to produce the podcast because she would be at work. So because of that, we decided we were going to shoot today. And then also next week podcast will be shot on Saturday. So we're gonna still try and get them up on the same day, roughly between Friday and Sunday. They've been going up on Sunday. I don't know if that changes anything, if people prefer it to go up on Sunday, if they prefer to go up on Friday. Honestly, my assumption is that it's better to go up on Sunday. But the whole reason why I was not putting the podcast up on Sunday before is because it's a whole week from when the podcast is recorded. So a lot of things can change in that 1 week. So the podcast will be kind of late to whatever is going on. That was one of the reasons why I decided to try and have the podcast up on Friday. We used to try and put it up on Thursday and sometimes even on Wednesday. And if I got lucky, I believe early on we're doing it the same day. But we not doing that. And if we get an editor, that could possibly happen, but not until then. Not gonna happen. So that's where we at with that. And yeah, I think so that's pretty much the real reason. So the next 2 podcasts will be shot on the weekend, and then we'll be back to regular programming. That does not really affect y'all because again, we normally shoot on Tuesday. So now we have some updates with the house that I want to get to, which I think is crazy. But before I get to that, I want to start off with a podcast I watched recently. And I've actually been meaning to get to this too, in regards to Joe Rogan, because a couple months ago, whenever the Spotify deal happened, I was just like, I don't really know if I would really go over the transfer to watch Joe Rogan on Spotify. I'm like, I like his videos, but unless he has a person that what are you doing, Tushi? Don't even think about it. So I was always thinking to myself, people are not going to switch over to watch that, right? I'm like, I don't know. It's a tough sell. I feel like because it's the ease of access to watching it now or before when it was on YouTube, it would be cool to just find some new content or find something new that you can talk about that he's talking about. And he would have a lot of different interesting people on there. the people that he would have could range from, I remember there's a guy, I think plays some type of instrument, or he's a artist or something like that, but he ended up transferring to saving white people from the KKK or something like, or converting white people from the KKK, right? I think his name's something David, something like that. So that was somebody. Then you have a scientist talking about, you know, how plastic affects the way you eat. Then you'll have him talking with a UFC fighter about, you know, the latest fight. You'll have him talking to it ranges from astronauts to self-proclaimed hillbillies. Like, it just ranges across the board. So it was cool to be able to find different interesting things to listen to on there, especially with the clips. I think the clips were the most important aspect of Joe Rogan, because you may not know, like, if I just saw somebody's name and it said John Jingles, I'd be like, I don't want to watch this guy. I never heard of him. I don't know what he does. But I might see interesting clip from the podcast and go, oh, wait a minute, this is interesting. Let me hear what else he's talking about. So that was the appeal of the clips part of Joe Rogan. Now, I heard recently he said that actually when he did switch over to Spotify, he said he lost half of his viewers like immediately. Like, it just was like the first couple of months, it was like just half. He was making, I think he's doing like 90 million a month or something like that. I'm assuming it went down to 40. Now that's still a lot, but that's a huge pay cut, or it's a huge viewer cut to whatever you're doing. But he said over the last couple of months, it went back up. So, and actually said, I think he said he has more viewers now than he did before. So that's very interesting. And honestly, I can see why, because I do now sometimes go over to Spotify and watch some of the podcasts if I find out something interesting about it from Twitter, sometimes YouTube, not very often. But what I don't like about it, if anybody works at Spotify and you listen to this, there's no I can't find a description on my TV to what the video is about. So it'll have the person's name, but I have no idea what that video is or what they're talking about. I don't like that. So I would personally change that if I worked over there. But a recent podcast I watched, and that's actually funny because that has nothing to do with Joe Rogan. So this guy, I heard about him from Joe Rogan. His name is Lex Fridman. He has his own podcast, and he was interviewing somebody, right? And I don't remember the guy's name. Can you check the history and see who it was that he was interviewing? Okay. And the topic was about productivity. It was about, you know, social media and how it affects your brain. And I always feel like I have a good hold on social media to some degree because I'm aware of it.
I think it was Cal NewPort.
So his name is Cal NewPort. Now, I always think that I have a good handle on social media because I'm aware of it. And I think it helps to be aware of it. But I also think there are parts of it that I don't know affect me. And listening to that podcast, it shed a light on something that I did not know was even happening when I use social media. But after hearing it, I'm like, that makes so much sense. So it's what he called it. And it's funny because I actually talked about this on the podcast before. It's like fragmented thinking, right? Or fragmenting your thoughts. Now, the other time I heard about this, it wasn't in relation to how it affects you. It was a different perspective on how fragmented thinking affects you. So this guy was explaining that when you have, you know, social media, you have Twitter, you have Instagram, you got Facebook, whatever, messages, whatever. Honestly, he said mail, which is the one that he kind of harped on the most. The fragmented thinking stops you from being productive, right? And how he explained it was that if you are trying to write a paper, if you are trying to edit a podcast, if you are trying to, you know, maybe work out or do something that requires your focus, every time that you go check your phone, you lose productivity in what you're doing, right? Now, I feel like everybody pretty much knows that part. That's the, you know, it makes sense. However, what he said was that doing that multiple times makes you tired. Like, it makes you sleepy. And I did not know that was an effect of doing that, because for me, if I'm editing a podcast, or if I'm trying to do my spreadsheet, or if I'm trying to do, look at properties, I will, look at, let's say I'm doing my, a podcast, not a podcast. Let's go with a spreadsheet for my finances. So I'll put in maybe 10 different transactions, right? And then I'll check my phone, see if I have any mail or anything like that. Then I'll go back and I'll put in another 10 transactions, and then I'll go and check my phone, check mail, whatever. Now, disregarding how much time I might spend in that time period, let's say I spend 3 or 5 minutes, we'll come back to that later. But every single time that I go and check my phone and I go through it, he was saying that you have to use, I believe he said your lymphic system, your one of your types of system. I don't know if your nervous system, not your nervous, what's the other one? Your feelings. Your lymphatic system, I think it's called. That's not lymphatic?
I feel like your lymphatic system is more like I feel like that's more like your health, your immune system, I think. I feel like it could be your endocrine system or something. What does it regulate?
Mm-hmm.
What does it regulate?
I'm asking.
You're asking me what the lymphatic? Oh, yeah, that regulates it's your body sewage system. It maintains fluid levels in your body's tissues by removing all fluids that leak out of your blood vessels.
So I think that's what it was. And the reason I think it was that one is because, let's say your body is building up the chemical to focus on something. Once you switch your focus, it now has to remove all of that to focus on the new thing. So whatever you have to do to focus on that new thing, let's say, you're getting happy about a tweet you saw, or you're getting angry about a tweet you saw. Your body is going back and forth between changing your emotional level. So now you're upset about this tweet, you go back to your whatever you're doing productivity wise, you're focusing on that. And then the levels go back down. Then you go back to your phone. Now you're happy because you got 3 likes. It goes all the way back up. Right. And now you're doing that back and forth. So he was saying that causes your body to become more exhausted. Right. So that's what I'm saying. From that standpoint, I didn't know that's how that would work. So he was saying that the more you go back and forth or stop being productive at something, the more tired you're going to be, because your body feels like you're doing multiple things. And I used to always wonder, why is it that I can get up and I'll do edit a podcast, or I guess I do my finances or something else, and I feel super exhausted after. I'll be like, damn, I did so much work. I should I need a break now. I need a rest, right? I definitely have done all this work. I should chill out. And then I'll chill out and use social media while I'm chilling out. And it just made me more tired. So now I might wake up at 6 o'clock, and then by maybe 1 or 2, I'm like, damn, I am exhausted. I did mad work today. Mind you, I did 2 or 3 things, but it just feels like I did so much, because as I'm doing the things, my brain is going back and forth between my finances, then Twitter, my finances, then a YouTube clip, finances, and then Instagram, my finances, and then mail. And then I'm going back, and let's say I'm responding to a comment, I have to put energy into that comment. Then I might get an email about, a Turo spreadsheet or Airbnb list in Atlanta, and I'm responding to that. So I'm doing that back and forth, as opposed to just focusing on one thing, which requires less of that kind of energy to jump back and forth. So I'll be able to get more things done over time because I'm less exhausted. So let's say that I can focus on 3 things before I really get exhausted. I can then take a break and focus on those 3 things, another 3 things later. So I'll be able to get more things done. Another thing he talked about was time blocking. And this is something I haven't done yet. I really am uncomfortable with this, and I don't know why. And that is something I'm also working on too, is being more uncomfortable. For whatever reason, I don't like, that's weird. Okay, let me ask you this, babe. Do you think I like structure?
What?
Do you think I like structure? You're making faces. I don't know if that's a yes or is that a no?
Do you think you don't like structure?
I'm asking you. I want to hear from your perspective. What do you think?
From my perspective, yes.
You think I like structure? Okay. The reason I asked that is because I don't like having set times to do things. Like hour by hour. What?
Yeah, you're funny.
Okay, why?
Because it's like I can see why. Because it's like you like structure in how you do things, or kind of have a process to how you do things, but you yourself don't like being in a structure.
Yes, right. That's what I'm asking. I'm like, I don't like being confined.
You like maintaining things, but you don't like being maintained.
That's what I'm thinking. That's why I'm like, I like organizing things, but I don't like for me to be into that organization box where it's like, okay, from 1 to 2, I'm going to clean. From 2 to 3, I'm going to do social media. From 4 to 5, I don't like that.
Yes, it's like someone telling you what to do, even if it's yourself.
Right. And that's what I was asking. Do you think that I like structure? Because that's kind of partly structure.
It is, but it's more, you like outward, not inward structure, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think I agree with that. And it's so crazy because, like I said before, I'm trying to be more uncomfortable. So I'll come to that. Make sure I bring that up if I didn't already put it on here. Okay, it's up there. So the time blocking, he was saying that if you designate yourself for the day to complete a task, he said that you will automatically know, your brain will just tell you, like, listen, because you know you're doing this task, you can take a break to do this task, right? And your brain will go, well, if I could take a break, why not use my break right now? Right? And I think that's equivalent to people going, okay, I'm going to do the podcast, right? I'm gonna edit the podcast. But then I'll go, okay, I'm going to do it in 20 minutes. I'm going to wait 20 minutes before I start editing the podcast. And that's, I feel like, is what he was talking about, where it's like, if you think you have a break, you're going to use it right now if you don't have an actual time frame for what you're doing. Because if I don't have a time frame, I'm not losing any time by taking a 20-minute break. But if I say I'm only going to edit the podcast from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and I decide, you know what, I'll wait 20 minutes to edit it and I'll start at 1:20. I have lost 20 minutes in editing the podcast. So as opposed to having a full hour, I can only edit it for 40 minutes. And he was saying that when you actually sit down and carve out time to do something, your body knows to get more involved in or to put more focus on it, because it's a deadline. You've put a deadline on whatever you're doing. So now you want to try and complete what you're doing in that deadline. So you're going to have more focus towards it. If you have that and you couple that with not using your phone, you can actually get that thing done. In his situation, he was talking about, a lot of times you will get that task completed in less than the allotted time you put towards it. So if you put 2 hours towards it or an hour towards it, you'll get it done in, half an hour, 45 minutes, because you are actually focused on doing that. And one thing I think about too, he also kind of harped on, is the fact that people think, when people think about themselves doing a task, or like when they want to do a task, they think about doing that task in a flow state. And they think about, okay, in their brain, they see themselves doing the task in a state that the task is not hard, right? So when they actually start the task and they're not in a flow state, they don't want to continue to keep doing the task because it doesn't feel like that. And I think for me, that happens for sure. I think there's a lot of times where I'm thinking about, okay, tomorrow I'm going to get up, I'm going to, stretch, I'm going to clean, I'm going to call, right? And that's me thinking about it from a state of mind of, I'm going to be in a good mood tomorrow to be able to do that. But when I wake up and I'm not in a good mood, now I'm like, damn, I really don't feel like doing this no more. And that's because when I thought about it, I was thinking about it from the lens of me being in a flow state. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because to get into the flow state, you actually have to do the work. and you have to get focused on it. So you have to go, okay, like today I was making a line item sheet for the project in Philadelphia. When I sit down and say I'm not going to use my phone, I'm just going to sit here and do this thing, maybe after the first 5-10 minutes, I think he might have said 20-30, I'm not sure the exact time, but that's when you finally get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm completely here, everything is vibing, it just kind of works. You ever have those situations, those times where you're doing work and it's almost like your hand and body's on autopilot? Like you can click different tabs. You're just moving the mouse around. You're not thinking about nothing else but what you're on. And anybody from my experience that gets into that state enjoys what they're doing. If you're in a flow state, whatever you're doing is not it's not hard to do because it's just flowing. So that's something I've been working on over the last like 2 or 3 days. Now back to the being uncomfortable thing that I was talking to Melissa about a second ago. Mm-hmm. For me, and Melissa just pointed this out, I myself don't like myself to be structured. I don't like somebody telling me to be here at a certain time. I don't like somebody telling me what to do. I don't like those things. And when I think about it, like when those moments come up, I feel like I want to throw up. And I know that sounds probably very exaggerated, but I just feel a huge tightness in my stomach, and I'm like, I really feel very, very uncomfortable with somebody telling me what to do or telling me where I have to be at some place. Like I really don't like it. And according to the conversation I'm just having now with Melissa, that also seems to apply even if it's me telling myself what to do. And I think that's funny that she brought that up, because I feel like even when I tell myself something to do, I will do the same thing that I would probably do to somebody else if they told me what to do. I said, all right, I got you. Just give me 10 minutes. Give me 20 minutes. And I'm like, even if it's my brain saying, Donovan, get up and do this thing, I'm like, I'll do it when I feel like it. All right. Don't rush me, Donovan. When I get to it, I'll get to it. And I think that that's so crazy. Like, I think that that's a crazy, like the thought of that is crazy to me. So now it was something else too. So there's several things about being uncomfortable. I think Melissa not being here has let me see. It allowed me to put any onus or any problem on myself, whether it was her fault or not her fault. Before, I could attach it to, well, I would do this work if Melissa was not cooking right now. I'm about to eat, so I'm gonna wait 10 minutes to eat because she's about to make food. Or I could say, well, we were talking about this important topic, so that's why I didn't get my work done. So I can make those things up in my head, and they kind of validate my reason for not doing something. So because she's not here, if I'm sitting in the bed and I'm like, okay, I have to edit, there's no reason that I can give that is not for me. Like it's not on me that it's not being done. Recently, and this is something else, and let me know if you know why this is too, because I'm curious if you have an opinion on this. So something else I realized for me that I don't like to do is doing something right away. I have some type of mental block on that, right? Don't look at me. I'm talking to them. I'm talking to them.
I'm listening.
Oh, look, you was looking like a looking face, not listening face. Okay. Two different faces. Okay. So, part of that reason is because I get that uncomfortable feeling again, right? And I don't know what that feeling is, but that's when I get that feeling. So the other day when Melissa was at work, I had to go and get this document notarized for the house in Philadelphia, right? And what happened was we had left the cat in the playpen when I dropped Melissa off at work. So as I came back home, I had to go look at another property just to kind of do like a look out on the outside of it, and it's near the house. So the document was not notarized yet. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, should I go back inside to the house and let them out the playpen so they don't shit in the playpen, because that's happened before? Or should I go and get the document notarized first, because it's 3 or 4 blocks from here? So I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna just go to the house, park the car outside real quick, run upstairs, let them out, and then go and get the document notarized. I had this huge uncomfortable feeling about going to get the document notarized. I don't know why that is. I did not want to do it. I mean, at that point when I had the decision to make between the cats and the document, that was my mind set. So I'm curious, what do you think the reason for that is?
You didn't want to go to get notarized?
Mm-hmm. What I was gonna do was, mind you, I was right here. Let's say no, I was probably like 4 blocks that way, right, by the movie theater, whatever that block is over here. So I could have came over here to the cats, or I had to go to Hillside to get the document notarized. Mm-hmm. Right. Why do you think I did not want to go get the documents notarized, and I want to come home first?
I don't know. In my opinion, it kind of made more sense to come here first.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it sounds like you feel like you were avoiding getting it notarized.
Mm-hmm.
How long did you stay in the house after you left them out?
I didn't come home.
Oh, you went and you did the document first. Oh, so you did the opposite of what you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's just one of those annoying. It's one of those things where, I know why.
Okay.
It's time sensitive.
Which one?
The notarized document. Because the reason why you're getting the document notarized has to do with the whole putting a lien or whatever, that whole situation, which is time sensitive technically, where you have multiple people, because it's at least 2, because it would be and that's like, you should do this right now. You should do this right now. You should get this done as soon as possible. You should do this right now. That's what it is.
Okay.
And you're like, I have to do this right now. I don't know what your issue is with that.
Listen, you are 100% right. And I think, because like I said, the reason I'm asking for you and people listening is because I may not be able to see that because I'm so close to it. So, and I think that is absolutely what it was, because letting them out the playpen, there's no time for that. You didn't ask me to do it. Nobody asked me to do it. They didn't call me and say, hey, can you let me out? So I'm like, I'm gonna just go home and let them out, because technically it needs to be done. They need to be let out, right? And my reason was in my head, and this is what I told myself. It's a little side note. I remember reading a book a long time ago, and it said that they broke up the word rationalize, and they said that when somebody says rationalize, it's themselves telling rational lies. They're making up logical lies that make sense. And my whole thing was, well, they may shit in the playpen, so I gotta go home, take them out, and then I gotta go get the thing. I can do it after that. It's not gonna take that long. So it'll be like 5-10 minutes. Come in the house, go back out, go do the thing, and then come back. Right? That's what my brain wanted to do.
Right. And then there's little things that come with that too. Because were you gonna find a parking spot?
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, should I park on the sidewalk? Because I'm like, what if a truck come by? What if I go upstairs and they did shit in the playpen? Do I leave them in the playpen? Do I have to not move the garbage can come upstairs? What if I gotta pee? What if, like, there's a lot of things come in? So that's why I'm like, before I thought about even putting it on the sidewalk, I thought about finding a parking spot. Then coming back to the house, going upstairs, doing that, going back to the car.
Right.
That's how.
Who wants to? And then by time, if you, I feel like if you were to do that, kind of get comfortable in the house, maybe get something to drink, a little snack real quick before you go, because you feeling kind of nippish. You're like, it's kind of cold outside. I already took my shoes off.
Right.
When I was walking around the house. Like, unless you were going to come in here, unzip, and then go back outside. Which
I probably wasn't going to do, because now I don't know what's in the house. There might be something on the counter. I got to move all that stuff. I got to put it in the thing. So that's why I was just like, but that was the rational lie I was telling myself, is that they may shit in the playpen and I won't have to come home to shit.
Was there shit when you came?
It wasn't. Right? It wasn't. So, that's something that I'm learning with myself, is that It's that. It's that thing.
So, okay. Does it... I know that you generally just don't like feeling rushed. It makes you feel like anxiety in your body when you're feeling rushed.
Uncomfortable. Well, yeah. That's how I'm like, I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. So... But that doesn't mean that thing shouldn't be prioritized.
It doesn't. But my it's like what?
I'm like, just think about it. You can have all the days in the world to do something, and it'll be the last day. And you'll be like, all right, I can do it today. Right,
and that's only if nobody's telling me to do it. Because if somebody tells me to do it, I'll probably wait even longer. So, like I said, and it comes down to this time thing. I don't know. There's something in my childhood that caused that. I just don't know what it is. But I don't like that.
I feel like you had told me something where it's like the reason why nephew's always on time is because your mom wasn't on time. So I wonder if she tried to still instill that same on-timeness in you, and you wanted to fight back against it, and that's why you like this.
That's possible. And the reason, another thing too for me is that I know my dad used to give me like those like a calendar like it's for kids with magnets with time stuff on it, right? But when I think about it now, I kind of like it, or I think I like it. I'm like, that will be, like, I don't feel like I dislike that much. I remember coming back after I brushed my teeth, I will put, okay, at 7 o'clock I did this, and then I did this at 8 o'clock, and I would do that. So to me, I feel like I enjoyed that. But I don't like the time thing. So I don't know if it's attached to that.
And I think that you also like to test consequences.
I think that's true too. That's another thing. I wonder why that is.
Yeah, I don't know. you like to test them.
Maybe.
You like to be like, well, because I feel, and then I think from testing consequences, from you doing it, reinforces you to continue to test them. Because I feel like you discovered that all the consequences don't be hitting. Like it'll say X, but B really happens.
Right.
So then now you don't give a fuck about it. It's just out the window. And it's like, it may or may not come a time where one of the consequences is what it says. And
I think it ties into the same thing. With consequences, it's somebody else telling me I have to do something by a certain time. You have to send this paperwork in by Thursday. You have to send this in by Friday. And then like what you said is like, well, if I sent it in the day after and nothing happened. So right. I'm like, why y'all pressing me to send this in at this time? But then it trickles over into my regular life and other things where now whenever I have a time constraint, I'm like, but again, they don't really be. But this is what it is, and this also ties into money, and it ties into money like this. I think about perfect. This is even better. I think about reward. I don't evaluate risk. I evaluate more the reward than I do the risk. So I'm thinking I still got the paperwork in and everything still happened. So I got the reward. But the risk could have been they would have denied whatever paperwork I sent in because I sent it in late. But because it doesn't happen, I'm like, I got the reward I want without actually having the risk. And if I manage the risk, I might do things earlier. Because I'm like, okay, if I don't send it in by that time, I may not get whatever I'm trying to get by sending this paperwork in.
Yeah, I definitely think you are more reward oriented than risk oriented.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely what you base your decisions on. I'm just curious as to what things you will not test.
I can't think like
right.
Will not test.
Yes. Is there anything you think that you would not test?
Not really. I mean, not really, because I even wanted to go to jail.
Huh?
I wanted to go to jail before. Well, I mean, I kind of still do, but I don't. But And this again, I think this is a very big, I don't know if I call it breakthrough, because I don't know if I found a solution yet, but I think understanding it is the first part, because the reason I would want to go to jail, right,
is to test how much you can handle, or
right, and that's crazy.
It is,
because there's a risk that I might get raped, killed, stabbed, mortally wounded, like lose who knows, I can't get a job afterwards. But I'm like, but if I make it through jail without all those things happening to me, I will be a stronger person, and then I'll be able to have meetings with people like, listen, I already been through crazy shit. What you gonna tell me that I didn't even know? And that's the reward from it. And that reward to me has a lot more upside than what in my mind what I think the risk may possibly be. I'm not even thinking about the risk. I'm thinking about getting through. I'm thinking about overcoming the risk, and not thinking about what the risk actually is.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's it's very interesting.
Yeah, because me, I'm more risk oriented.
Yes, and that's why we are together, because I need somebody to manage to like bring it a little bit down sometimes. That's why I ask you some stuff. I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? Even if I still want to do it, I'm like, okay, I need to know, because it lets me know, okay, Donovan, you thinking all the way up here. And honestly, that explains a lot. There's two things I want to bring up. That explains a lot. Even with prices, it's probably very similar. Like, even with buying stuff online for the house, I'm like, the reward is that we'll get a higher purchase price.
You are ridiculous. You know that, right? You literally, there'll be 10 items, right? And you'll be like, ooh, I got this one item for this price, and I have this much money left. I should just spend all the rest of the money on the next item and not worry about the other 8. Like,
I don't know if I would say that, but I think I look, my mind is that I want to buy the more expensive thing because of what the more expensive thing will bring, right? And this is something else I've been thinking about. There's a lot of things it's all coming together. Yeah, so the risk, I mean, let me see, the reward is not high enough in buying a cheaper item, because I feel like they may see that they may see in the house situation, they may see that, oh, this is a cheap item and we won't pay as much for it.
Or there is a reward in getting a cheaper item, because it don't have to be cheap.
Sure, cheaper
than whatever you was gonna choose.
Sure,
be in the middle. So the reward for that is that you can now afford to get more of the things that you need, more
cheaper items. Because here's the thing, this is what I'll say, I'll get the expensive item and then find a way to pay for more expensive items.
Right, but then guess what? That's adding more money to the budget.
But that's what we don't have. But that's what I'm saying. I don't look at the bottom part of it. The bottom part is the risk. I'm looking this way. Okay, how can we get up here? I'm not looking at whatever smudge and dirt is down here and the floor is sinking. I'm like, okay, if I just keep looking up here, then we could just get up there. That's how I'm looking at it, right? So another example of that is, I think it's funny with Tori. I gave him an example of like how we would buy the house over here, right? And I was like, okay, I don't even think I text you this. I think I showed you the text message, but I don't think I actually showed it, or I don't think I explained it to you. So what I was thinking about doing was getting the house, paying the guy $600,000 for his house, right? And then what we would do is we would take that note and move it somewhere else, and then have somebody else give us $500,000 for the house in cash, because the house is free and clear, right? So the house would now be in $1.1 million worth of debt, right? You follow me?
How are you in debt if somebody gave you money?
We owed them. So we would get a loan against the house. So they would give us, if we refinance the house and we had a mortgage, they would pay off the mortgage. But if we refinance the house and it's free and clear, the money goes in your pocket.
Right, but okay, I thought you meant like seller finance it to somebody else and they are paying for it.
Mm-mm.
You're talking about getting an actual loan out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. So the house would be in debt $1.1 million, right? But we would have $500K in our pocket. All right. So I'm like, Tori, what do you think about this? I'm like, we could have $500K in our pocket, and we have to pay him $5,000 a month, and we have to pay the lender, let's say $2,000 a month for the mortgage, right? So we're paying out $7,000 a month. We have $500K in cash. So we have to pay $7K a month on this $500K. So I'm like, that might last us about 4 or 5 years, right? My mind is like, if I could get this $500K in cash, I could flip it into something else to pay off this loan, because the house is not worth 1.1 million. So my thing is, I need enough money to pay the owner and the lender. And I'm like, if I have $500K in cash, I could go and buy $1 million property, or if you do it by 20%, it would be
take a more debt.
Yes, but it would bring in more cash flow. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's what I'm thinking about. But when I was talking to Tori about it, he was like, that's a lot of risk, right? He was like, the risk of the house is not up to code, right? So I'm like, at that whole point, mind you, in my head, the house is vacant. Like, we wouldn't even be having no tenants in there. It would just be a vacant house that we're paying $7,000 on. We could have tenants stay there and pay us to help pay that down. But if they want to sue, or if they die, something happens, that's on us. Right? And then he was saying that if the lender wanted to foreclose on the house and sell it, they wouldn't be able to get any equity, because the owner would still have
first position,
second position.
Okay.
So he would have $600K. So the owner would only get, the lender would only get $500K, and the loaner would get the rest. So that's kind of, the loaner, the owner only would get the rest. So he was like, the lender may not want to do that, because there's no equity in it for him, because it's $1 million debt on it already. So I'm like, okay, what if we move the $600,000 debt to the house in Philadelphia, and we have $500K on this house? He was like, I forgot what he said to that, but he was like, you're still gonna owe $1.1 million in debt on this house. But I just thought it was funny, because when he said the word risk, that's when it dawned on me. I'm like, we could get $500K in cash. We'll figure the risk out later. We have $500K in our pocket. We could figure out a way to make money off of this $500K. That's what I'm thinking about, right? So that is another thing I was thinking about. And then this is unrelated to that, but I was talking about the table too. Similar situation, where it's like, the upside of the table is we have somewhere to work, which can get more things done, right? The downside of the table is spend $1,000, cannot use it on something else, and another downside is might not use your table, right? So those are the risks and downsides. And my brain I'm like, we'll figure that out later. That's my brain. We'll figure it out later, right? So that's something I've been thinking about lately, with being uncomfortable. Anything you want to say about that?
So, like, is this something that you want to combat, or is this something that you would want to change about yourself?
Yes, I think so. If I was to use the house example, the one over here in New York, the more uncomfortable thing for me would be to assess the risk, because the risk is somebody else telling me I can't do this thing. Like, and I don't say I don't assess the risk, but I don't put it on the same scale as I do the reward, because I always think I'm going to get the reward more, because I feel like I normally do get the reward. So I put the risk lower. And I'm like, whenever there is risk, I find a way to overcome whatever that risk, if it does come up.
Okay, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think more people are accustomed to doing things, focusing on the risk. Yeah. So.
And making a decision. That's the thing. I will assess the risk and make my decision based off the reward, I guess. So, but it's the whole thing for me was just being uncomfortable. And another thing too, this is more short, and this is kind of the last thing I'll say about this is, so right now, something that makes me uncomfortable is like, it's weird. Before, I used to always see online, people would say that, I forgot what it's called, when you see somebody on social media doing well and then you feel type of way.
I wouldn't. The first thing that came to my mind was like FOMO.
Yeah.
But it's not really. That's kind of like, you being left out of something.
Yeah, I mean, it could be something.
It could be, but I think that's more kind of like a. Because I want to say envy, but I know it's not that. Mm-hmm. It's more like a damn. When am I going to get there?
Yeah. And right. So that's the feeling I have. And I only see it or only feel that with people who I feel like I could be doing that, or I don't want to say I should be doing that, but that's kind of, I feel like, yeah,
it's kind of like a capability thing.
In terms of what?
In terms of like, you know that you're capable of that.
Mm-hmm. It's
just not here.
Yeah. So I don't know what that's called. Maybe somebody listens to it. Y'all can tell me what it's called. So some examples of that would be Alexia Wright, Pace, Morby, Lily Thompson. Those are people that I look at. I'm like, he's doing, I think he's like doing 20 million. I don't know if he's doing 20 million a year. I don't know his numbers exactly, but he's doing all these subject to deals. And I'm like, yo, I could be doing that. And I'm like, okay, I could see how I would approach this. With Lily, I'm like, okay, I see that she's doing this and doing that. I'm like, I could be doing that. And with Alexia Ray, I'm like, yo, I'm supposed to, like, maybe it's entitlement. Maybe it's entitlement. I feel like that might be something, what it is. Maybe I feel entitled to it. And I don't know if it's the right word. It feels like the right word, but I don't know if it's the right word. Because the reason I say that I feel like it's the right word, because I'm in my brain, I'm saying I should be doing that. I feel like I should be doing that. And that's more than an entitlement. Like, why do you feel like you should be doing that?
That's why I think it's a weird thing, because it's like, that's why I said that's why I kind of said a capability thing, because what I think it comes down to is that we are in the process of it. So it's kind of like, let's say that you see a Ferrari on the street, mm-hmm. and it's like, okay, I have my credit together. I'm literally going to the loan place tomorrow. It just has to process. I had the conversation with the guy. He pretty much said it's gonna go through. I just don't have the Ferrari yet. Mm-hmm. But I still want the Ferrari. Like, that's what I want. I see people driving it, and I'm gonna think, damn, that's a nice ass Ferrari. I should have my Ferrari.
Bro, I know what it is, and this is my. I know exactly what it is, and this is the problem, right? Because this is the issue, and this is why it's coming out this way. I feel like I'm better than them at what they're doing. That's what it is.
Oh.
That's what it is. And that's the reason. I'm like, I'm better than you at that, and you're further than me, but I know I'm better than you at that. And I feel like I need to be more open with that, because that's what it is. I feel like I'm better than them at what they're doing. I'm just not there yet. And that mindset comes somewhat from, I would say, Kanye West, because I'm thinking about people who are, let's say, Jay-Z. If you are saying that you are the best artist, the best rapper, or whatever the case, or Drake, right? But you're not there yet. But then you get there. Were you wrong when you said it? And that's how I feel. I'm like, I'm just not there yet, but I know I'm better than y'all. That's how I feel.
I've been feeling the same with music. You know?
Yes.
So that's why I'm like, I know what you're talking about. Where it's like, it's not like me being who I am right now and then saying that I'm like, I should be in the WNBA and dunking on people. Like, I have no ability towards that, no talent towards that, no inclination towards that. Like, that's preposterous. Mm-hmm. So it's more so like a damn. Whatever pieces are missing, either I don't know what they are yet, but when I figure it out,
right,
I'm coming for it.
And right, that's how I feel. And I said, I think that's the reason why I feel like that's what it is. And me trying to be more humble. That's what the problem is.
The problem is you being humble?
Yes. Up until that's what I feel. And that's what I feel. I feel like I am better than them at what they're doing. I'm just not there yet. That's what I feel. And that me not saying that me being humble, me saying like, I feel like I should have or be in that position. No. I look at what they do and go, I could do that 10 times better than you. That's how I look at it.
And they're going to look at you and say, then do it.
And exactly. And that's why I'm like, all right, I'm going to get there. But that's how I feel right now. That's what it is. Because I'm like, I look at them, and that's part of the $10 billion thing, where it's like Luffy. I am better than y'all at this.
That's true. I'm going to be king of the pirates.
If you want to take it like offensive.
My man was in a barrel talking about, I'm going to be king of the pirates.
Right? And everybody's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right. And now they're like, damn, this motherfucker's worth 1.5 billion berries.
Right.
Right? So like I said, that's what it is. And now I am going to own that more often.
Funny? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that you
right. The only issue with it is that they could say, well, you're not close to me right now. We're not even in competition. All right, cool. But don't let me get too close to you, because I'm telling you, and this is me speaking honestly. I can feel it. If I am even on a similar playing field in terms of what I'm doing, nobody that I see right now is compared to me. I'm telling you, the issue is that things are just not, the pieces are not going in the right places. That's it. That's the only thing. But I know in my soul, I'm telling you, once it get even close, I'll be looking at them like, why you do it like that? I would do what? Why you ain't do this? Why you ain't do that? Why you missed that? What? That's how we looking. So yeah. So I feel better now. That's what it is. I feel way better. I'm better than y'all.
What?
That's how I feel. And like I said, honestly, I hope more people feel like that too, because I feel like the same way you feel like that. Other people probably feel the same way. Like, I look at you do this thing, I know I'm better than you, and I'm like.
But that's the only thing is, I think one of the main reasons why we feel the way that we do too is that it doesn't stop there.
In terms of what?
In terms of like, I just feel like that and that's it. Or it's like, no, I feel like that and I'm actively trying to figure out how to get there.
Even still, because I think that more people should be open with that, because I feel like when they're open with it, they will be honest with themselves and do more work, because I feel like people may harbor that and then not say it. So it never actually turns into anything. It's just like, it turns into resentment. And honestly, probably towards yourself, because you're not being honest with how you feel. And I'm thinking about, like, from a rapper standpoint, where people, grow up in the hood and they say, oh, this guy did this. And it's like, all right, if you feel like you're better than him, then do that thing. And until you do that thing, people are going to assume you're not better than them. And I'm like, that's fine. And you have to own it. If you decide to never become better than them, that's what it is. You never got there. If Luffy dies and become king of the pirates, he's not king of the pirates. That's just what it is. If I die without becoming, better than everybody else, that's what it is. But if I live long enough, I'm better than y'all. That's what it is. That's the simple fact. So I'm gonna leave off on that. Let's see if you want to add anything to that. Okay. So I'm gonna add it to the intro. Because I'm like, that might be a title. It's just the first, I'm better than you. So that's gonna be the intro, because I'm tired, because I that's what I feel. But anyways, we got some more stuff to get to.
We are currently at
over an hour.
Yeah, we are at an hour.
Yeah, so I'm like, I think it'd be fine. So okay, a couple of things. Yeah, that was a lot. I feel better. I feel better now. To plan to pay contractor. So I just found out, and I know this is probably gonna be, y'all gonna be like, Don, are you fucking serious? That's what you're gonna say. I know it. So we just found out that we need another $25,000, $20,000 for the house. What do you mean?
I thought you said 15 or 13.
Well, you said to add, if I add any other stuff that I didn't add
so
in.
You're adding appliances to this number.
Yes. So so I know y'all probably like, Donovan, are you fucking serious? Listen, I know this to me, I feel like, I guess I'll just eat that and say it's my fault, because it is our project, so it is what it is. But this is how this ended up happening, right? So the budget was $130,000 that we had for the job. And honestly, this is a learning lesson going forward. The budget was $130,000. After you already went over budget $75K, we went up $50K to $130. What happened is, once Tori, shout out to my guy Tori, once he sent us a $25,000, that allowed us to reach the $130,000 budget number that we have for the project. Once we started talking to the contractor even more, I found out that this budget does not include flooring. It doesn't include the kitchen cabinets, the counter, the sink, the faucet. It doesn't include the bathroom tiles. It doesn't include the cabinets in the bathroom. It doesn't include the faucets in the bathroom, or the vanity, or the mirror. It does not include any of that thing. It doesn't include the appliances, which that one I did know. I knew the appliances were not included in that, but it doesn't include a lot of those things. So I'm thinking I'm paying $130,000. It's going to include the cabinets. It's going to include the tiles I think it's going to include that stuff. How did it get to a point where it doesn't include that? That's what my problem is. And I'm like, honestly, I'm going to have that talk again. Cause I want to double up on that, because it doesn't say tiles are included. And this is another problem I had too. For anybody doing a renovation or whatever, this is something that I just learned now. I need line items. What is being paid for by you? What is being paid for by me? I'm going forward. I possibly will just buy all the materials and I'll just pay you for labor. That is it. Give me a budget for labor. That is all. And I'll pay for everything else myself, because then I know once I pay for these material items, you could just put it up in the house. So we need another $20,000 for those things. So we went to Lowe's yesterday to kind of go through everything, and we talked to my contractor also. So now we have a list of everything we're going to put in the house. We have an actual line item sheet for each room individually, and it's about $20,000. I don't know the exact number, $20,159, something like that. And what was I going to say? Oh, and we're buying it all from Lowe's so that we can get a discount. Like, we're going to buy everything from there. Hopefully we can get that number lower. So that's where we are right now. Now, here's the plan to kind of pay for that. Okay. Because this is craziness. Like, it's getting ridiculous at this point. And like I said, it's just ridiculous. Again, it's just getting to the end, and we'll figure out what happens when we get there. Because, right now it looks crazy. The plan is this. To move around how the money is distributed, because we can buy the materials and then have the materials sent there and have them put in. So then now that at least the house itself looks more completed. So at that point, it's like, okay, the house looks more completed. Maybe we can have somebody buy it or put a down payment on the house and then buy some other things with that money. It's a lot harder to sell the house if it's nothing in there. So it would be bad for us to pay for labor without paying for materials first. I'd rather pay for materials and then, owe money for labor. Like, okay, we paid for, let's say, $15,000 worth of labor, and they didn't put the flooring in the basement in. Okay, fine. That's cool. We have the tiles. We could do that later. We'll figure out how to get that. But we want the house to be moving along. We don't want the house to be stagnant because we're paying for labor and not paying for materials. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Now that's the update on the Philadelphia house. I almost forgot this. They said that I talked to the guy yesterday. He said he's thinking about a month after the drywall is put in. So if the drywall is put in, he said that they're going to be doing the stairs this week. Hopefully they're done by the end of the week, is what he said. Hopefully, which means that the drywall will be started at the end of next week, probably not the beginning of the week after that. And then he said the project will be done within 1 month from the date that the drywall is installed. That's the time frame we have right now. So now we're looking at late March. And this, like I said, this is getting insane at this point. Like, it's getting crazy. Everybody's telling me different things. People are telling me to fire him. People are telling me to go and sit at the property every day, make sure work is getting done. And it's like, I don't necessarily think that would help, because I can't force him to work or them to work. Everybody has different opinions on what I should do, and I'm weighing everybody's ideas and how to go about handling this. Because I trust my contractor. I don't think it's him. And I keep saying contractor. According to my uncle, he might be a labor contractor and not an actual general contractor, which means he just finds people to do the job and he just orchestrates it or whatever. That's something we're learning now. Like I said, once we get over this, I'm telling you, I'm coming for everybody. I keep saying that. So I'm going to leave that there. Now, seller finance deal. The first one I talked about has fallen through, because for people who are math junkies, I can do this math real quick if you have a calculator. The house is worth probably like, I think it's worth like $850,000, $900,000. I think it's $900,000 and up. If it's fully renovated into a duplex, I'll say about 900. Yeah, I'll say over 900K. And then The guy wants $5,000 a month for 15 plus years. So that comes out to about $600K or something like that. Now, that isn't really a problem for that purchase price, but the fact that he wants $5,000 a month is insane. If you're paying $5,000 a month, that's probably a mortgage for like $1 million property or over $1 million property. So to pay that kind of money on a house that's only worth $600,000 currently, if not less, because of the violations, is asinine. It's ridiculous, but that's what he wants. So that's why that deal is kind of falling flat, because we talked about it. He doesn't want to take less per month, and he doesn't want to take less overall. Because if he said $5,000 for 6 years, that's doable. We could do that, but not the way he wants to keep the purchase price high. He wants the monthly amount high, and the down payment he also wants. So it's like it's just not working. And this is something I've learned about wholesaling from over the last week, is what is a motivated seller. You hear people say that word all the time, and I think honestly over the last week since I've been wholesaling, I would probably say that I can remember with this person one motivated seller I've talked to. And I've talked to a lot of people who want to sell their house, but I think this is the first motivated person I've ever talked to. She was just saying, I don't even want somebody else. I don't want the house. I just want to sell it. There's a tenant in there. I don't want it no more. My mom is not well. I want to pay for her, her bills, her medical bills. I don't want to deal with this house. So I just want to sell it. I don't care about none of it. I just want to sell it. That conversation with her is completely different than everybody I've ever talked to. Everyone I've ever talked to is kind of like, yeah, I could sell it. How much you want to buy it for? Oh, nah, I'm okay. I don't want that. Like, that's the convo with everybody for the house. And I'm like, I have learned now, or at least I've experienced a motivated seller. So when you see those videos on YouTube about it, that's what they're talking about. Now, this also goes into what they say in the videos, is finding a motivated seller. Knowing what a motivated seller is important, because then you know what list to pull. And, pulling a pre-foreclosure list is not necessarily a motivated seller, because they may feel like, well, I just will find a way to pay it off, and they won't pay it off. So they're not really motivated. But if you can sit down and think about what would cause somebody to have to get rid of their house, and then search for things like that. Because honestly, here's what I'm thinking about doing once we figure out this house situation in Philadelphia. Whatever the list is that has people that are motivated, it's not going to be a public list like that. Like, it's not going to be that everybody's searching that list. I think you have to be able to cross-reference different things. So an example may be like, how many people are selling their car at a discount? They are probably also underwater on their house. So I think that everybody will go online and go, okay, let me pull a pre-foreclosure list, and let me pull a absentee owner list. But everybody's pulling those lists. Everybody's calling them. Everybody's trying to reach out to them. But if you find the people who have on a list that are different than the most common list, I think that's where the money is at. And that's what I'm going to do once we get this house situated. I'm going to look more into that. So that's that. Episode 100, guys. This episode 100. We are here. This is crazy. We did 100 weeks in a row. That's 2 years. And in 5 weeks, I believe we will be on chapter 3 of this story. And funny enough, chapter 3 will be crazy, because that's technically when the house will be done, which is kind of funny. And that will be the next chapter of the Bamboo Project. We have chapter 1. That's what me and Melissa were kind of still working. We were just kind of getting a feel of YouTube. We have chapter 2, which is actually kind of fun. We bought the house in chapter 2. And this is the whole chapter of the house being bought. And then chapter 3, hopefully, is Georgia and selling the house and leaving chapter 2 behind us. Like, that would be amazing. That would be crazy if that's really bad. That would be so crazy. That's chapter 3. So right now we're on chapter 2, about to end. So shout out to y'all for, tuning in. I think if the growth and the changes that we went through from chapter 1 to now, I think are crazy. Our life has changed so much. One of those things that's changed or not changed is we are getting evicted again. So, y'all know that story before. That is actually how we got into wholesaling in the first place, because we were trying to avoid an eviction. That's how we ended up finding the house to buy. We had like a whole series called Evicted, wholesaling series. What happened?
So we skirted eviction for 2 years.
Bruh, we skirted right. And it's like, here we are again, back at the door. They're knocking on the door again. Literally. Like, somebody came the other day and gave us an eviction 14-day notice.
I ain't opening no more doors.
So that's what happened. Now, so we had another 14-day eviction about 20 days ago. So we are past that point. Our lease ends on the 28th. And right now we owe like $7,000 to them. So again, we'll figure that out. We were not supposed to still be here. Like, we were supposed to have been out of this house like August of last year. Like, that's what was supposed to happen. Honestly, supposed to be in February for the Airbnb. Then we bought the house. Should have been out by August. Then it was September. Then it was January. Then it was February. Now it's March. So who knows? This is where we at. But like I said, chapter 3 is going to be different. Chapter 2. Yeah, the two things. Right. So episode playback. So episode playback is, I wanted to touch on. We're going to update on the lemon and lime conversation that we had. So my response to what he said was, is it long? Okay. I said, okay, let's give you some context. He said, I can't completely agree with the 100-0 thinking process. There are things that just come and fall into play that the man just can't carry. If your woman is happy with the man taking all control, then she is a child, in my opinion. It's fine for the man to take the lead, but there's only so far he can carry everything. Maybe it's because I'm married, I feel this way. But really, if my wife said something, it had the same weight as if it was my own thoughts. So really, it's more like 100-100. He said, I will acknowledge this, though. Very few couples can get to that type of mentality. So then my response was that was my biggest issue when I was dating while I was younger. I would carry all the weight, and the girls I would date would act like children. So I stopped acting like that. I approached this relationship differently at first. Quote, 100-100, 50-50. And what it led to was nonsense bickering because we don't have clear defined roles. The 100-0 definition is for women, not for men. I wouldn't tell men to think 100-0 because that's how you end up with nonsense. And by nonsense, I meant you have like narcissistic, you have people like to call it dictators, you have abusive men. That's what happens when a man says 100-0 or feels it should be 100-0. The problem I've seen lately is that women are not trusting their man. Approaching it from 100-0 gives her the opportunity to trust him. And I always say it to women: if you don't like the captain of the ship, you should probably choose a new captain, right? So then he responded and said, I think I understand what you mean now. You're speaking of this more like you're still early on in the relationship, where you're still kind of learning each other. I've been married for 10 years now, so I'm kind of out of touch with the part growing in with that part growing the relationship. I would say that it's fine for the man to establish his role as the leader, but over time she must become your co-pilot, someone you can trust to take charge when you need it. When it comes, so then that's that. So that's the update on that. Something else me and Melissa kind of talked about either I think after the podcast. Do you remember anything you want to say about that?
About which part? The
lemon and lime conversation. I feel like afterwards we kind of talked about it. There's something you might have wanted to bring up.
Not necessarily. I just really wanted to stress that I think that the visualization with the 100-0 thing is like a weak person and a strong person. Mm-hmm. When it's more like it's kind of like two strong people, mm-hmm. and you don't really if you have, it's like you're fighting against each other instead of going the same way. Mm-hmm. So, an example that I really like and that really made me realize what it means is because we do watch a lot of One Piece. Is
shout out to One Piece
and Zoro, mm-hmm. where it's like Luffy wants to be the king of the pirates. That's not what Zoro wants to be. Zoro wants to be the best swordsman in the world, but they can both get to what they want by going the same path in the same direction together. So Luffy's gonna do everything he can to help Zoro be the best swordsman ever because that helps Luffy with his goal. Mm-hmm. And Zoro is going to help Luffy become king of the pirates because that helps his goal. So they're always working together towards the same thing. Mm-hmm. And Luffy is the captain of that. And I feel like that I am Zoro. Mm-hmm. And I just want everyone to understand that. This is not,
right.
oh, I'm a a child. Oh well, child, baby. It's more like I know I'm Zorro. Please put a picture of the screen.
Because this is the thing with that, and this is what I think a lot of women should understand about the 100-0 letting your man lead. Should understand about that rhetoric is that, first of all, let's use Melissa as an example, right? In no way is Melissa unproductive, weak, unintelligent. Like there are, Melissa outshines the average person by far, right? So if you were to put her pedigree amongst other people, she would be in a higher degree on that list. And I'm gonna name a couple of things that she knows how to do. And if you're a woman or you're a man with a woman, you just ask yourself, does your woman do these things? Okay, so Melissa, just want to put this out there, was going to St. John's, accepted to St. John's University. Okay, y'all can look that school up yourself. Okay, she knows how to make her own clothes from scratch. She can make candles from scratch. She can cook all types of food, whether it be Dr.Sebi inspired food, whether it be salmon, whether it be it's just, the list goes on and on, right? I'm not gonna do everything, but different. You want to talk about Chinese types of food, you want to talk about Caribbean food, probably Mexican too. I don't know if you've done them in the house, but these are things that Melissa could do. Right now, like I said, there's more. I'm trying to think of, bro. Let me sit here and think, because I know there's more things. Melissa can sing. I forgot about that. So she's very artistic. She's very creative. And it's not like she can sing. She's a good singer. Okay. Melissa's list of things that she's good at is very, very long. So the reason I'm bringing this up is she can edit videos. All right. She's good on camera. She's attractive. So there's a lot of things, like she knows how to drive. And I put that on there because women don't have their license. She has her license. So the list is very long. Okay. And I don't want to keep going because it's just very long. Now, I bring this up because it is a strength, in my opinion, to be able to trust somebody, right? And trusting somebody doesn't make you a weak person. And I think that people have tended to label somebody that trusts somebody else as either dumb or weak or childish, right? And if I was to oversimplify it, I would put it to, you ever seen that game where you have somebody standing up, two people are standing up, and one of them it's a trust fall, right? And you just close your arms and you fall back and you hope the other person will catch you, right? You're trusting them to catch you. You trusting them to catch you does not make you weak. Like, and that's the craziest thing to me. And if you ever see some of the videos, some people like do like a little stumble before they fall back. They want to make sure that you're going to catch them. That's not 100-0. That's not you trusting the person you're with. That's you like, I kind of trust them. I think I'm not sure. I'm going to squat down and lean back in case I fall. I don't hurt myself. That's different than what I'm talking about. So we heard with Melissa in the anime situation or scenario that she gave, they are two very, very strong people in the show, like super strong people. One of them is the leader of the pirate ship, and the other one is I don't even have a name, like the second in command. Right. If anybody else were to fuck with him, they would probably get killed. So to address him as weak because he follows Luffy is ridiculous. And like I said, that's what a lot of people don't understand. And the reason I brought up what Melissa does is because I wonder if women who don't do a lot are unable to give that kind of trust to their man because they feel like they don't support enough. They're like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable giving that much support to him because I literally don't do anything.
I feel like it's kind of the opposite.
Okay.
I think it's harder for women that are self-sufficient to give up that kind of trust because I can do everything that you are doing for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So why should I trust you to do these things and then you could possibly fail when I can just do it myself?
That's a good point. Cause I'm on the fence about it. But okay. I mean, in terms of, it's harder for a girl to, if somebody were to insult a woman who's not doing anything, who has no skills, who can't do anything, and says, you're just a child, follow him around, right? It's like, I feel like that would be more of the case because you literally don't have any skills.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Where it's more truthful or closer to the point.
Yeah, as opposed to it's like, you may feel like that, but I know everything that I bring or that this relationship is like. So I feel like if a person is doing, if a person, let me think of like, of an effective example. I don't know. Can't think of one. Honestly, I think Copilot, perfect example. It's like, I don't even know how planes work, so I can't use that as an example. So I don't know. But I was going to say that with a Copilot, I don't necessarily know if a pilot can fly a plane like that without the Copilot being there. I don't know if they can. They bring a lot to it.
They don't have to. It's literally like, I don't have to do this all by myself. Mm-hmm. It's literally like what I feel like it comes down to.
But I don't know if they can.
What?
I don't know. I don't know if Copilot's a good example. I don't really know how pilots work, but there's a reason why there are two pilots, or a co-pilot and whoever the main pilot is. And the other co-pilot may even give the main pilot a rest so he's not flying for 12 hours straight.
Right.
That's one thing. He may also have to do certain things and keep certain measurements. Because I'm like, if the main pilot were to do it, he may do it, but it would probably be at a far significantly less success rate, because he's now trying to manage these pins and needles, and then like, okay, I gotta manage this one too. Now you gotta go back over here and look at this one, and you split up. You're like, okay, you can have somebody do the other one. Yes. So, but yeah, I guess that's something that I also think about. And the reason I bring this up again is because I really want. Listen, I'm open for my black people. You know, everybody else is cool too. I fuck with y'all, but I really want it more for black women and men to be able to have successful relationships where the woman could feel like a woman and the man could feel like a man, and they don't feel offended when somebody else tries to insult them for that. Because now men are told to be soft and women are told to be strong, and everybody's unhappy. Like, no, people that are in those situations tend to usually be unhappy from my experience when I talk to them. So the other thing I wanted to address was something I said last week was, in my old relationships, before I would be the leader and not have the conversation about supporting. And I feel like now that was the issue with that before was that I would, because she did not know I want her to support me. This is my old relationships. She wouldn't support me the way that I needed. So now with Melissa, we have that conversation where it's like, okay, this is what I need from the relationship from your side. Before, it would just be me carrying all the weight and being like, well, if you want to help, you know, that's cool, but I'm gonna try and carry everything myself. So I think now when I talk to Melissa about it, it's bring her into the conversation. So that's, you know, something I changed over time. So this is something that I want to talk about, but I'm not gonna be able to do it today. And I'm gonna say it again, so just so y'all have it for next week. Zendaya. I guess I'll leave this question here for y'all and not answer it next week. Is Zendaya and Rue from Euphoria the same person? Okay, let me know what y'all think, and I guess I'm gonna answer it next week. And Melissa and I had this conversation for 3 hours. We called people to bring them in the conversation. We've heard multiple different answers, and I think that it's just insane that this even is a question or a comment or a topic. I think it's crazy. Okay, so
right, I think so too.
I bet you do.
I think so.
I bet you do.
I think so.
I bet you do.
It's crazy.
So we will be back here next Tuesday. Where you going? Where you going? This is not done. We're not done. Where you going? No, it's not.
Would you like to start doing that?
Yes. We will be back here next Tuesday. You can find all the behind the scenes content on our social medias. Mine is Donovan Gray, DONIVANGRAY. And you have my phenomenal, beautiful, amazing girlfriend, Melissa Burnett. ANETABURN. You know what it is. Hashtag Bamboo Project 2022 is going to be a movie. All right. And with that being said, Bamboo Project Out.